All right, we are live. So this one's going to be a banger, guys. One, we have Primo, which is exciting, and two, we have a lot of. I see
I'm sorry, Primo. Today's really my day. You know, we're so happy to have you, but
I'm pumped, man. I'm glad.
To all the doubters, I've got nothing to say.
All right, well, let's just get into it. Let's kick the intro. We'll jump in. What's up, everybody? The ETF has been approved. I think a lot of us stayed up waiting after hours, much longer than we expected, but good news and a lot to dive into, of course. Let me just kick it off to you, Justin, for a quick victory lap, and then we'll get to our guest and everything else going on.
Oh boy, what a week. You know, all the doubters, you guys are all losers. You know, Thicky, so I have a funny story. I prepaid Thicky. Tyke and I are in New York. Tyke had a meetup for his community. Me and Thicky went. We had a great time. Thicky commented on my watch. He said, "This thing looks great." I said, "It's yours. You want it." Thicky said, "I can't accept this gift. That's too generous." I said, "You know what? You're going to win this ETF bet. Just take it as the payout for the bet." It was like an inexpensive watch, about $3,500. He took the watch. I prepaid the bet. And now we have this whole settlement issue. So Thicky, you owe me an ETH and maybe a nice gift at some point.
I do, Justin. You're not wrong in that.
But we're all winners, right?
How about a pudgy penguin gift? I recently got one, and I thought it was very thankful. Maybe like a pudgy gift.
I'll take a pudgy.
What's the floor?
Isn't it like 12 ETH, I think?
You know,
Well, I'm sure he would like.
Well, for all like the humiliation I suffered for the last 3 months of the chat, just saying how dumb I was, how I was fading Solana. And now the sentiment has shifted overnight. I'm getting DMs. Justin, you're the smartest guy. We knew you were going to be right all along. The comments here I'm seeing are all like, Justin is right. Justin is the smartest lad. But for like 6 months, I had to hear that Tyke wasn't actually the left curver. It was actually me. That Thicky was the god tier trader. That Jordy knew markets and was Mr. Game theorizing. But really, it was me the whole time. Just let's let that sink in and let's not forget that part.
Everybody.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it after the beating. There's a live chat. His name is Sticky Thought, and he just said, "Now I'm ultra liquid." That's hilarious. Anyways,
all right. Well, now that that's out the way, yes, please like and subscribe. Welcome, Bryan. Good to have you here.
Yeah, for sure. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're supposed to be very neutral across all the chains. You know, you're connecting everybody and then creating that layer. But yeah, what's your kind of reaction to the news? Do you think this is a big deal, or how are you seeing it?
No, for sure, it's a big deal. I mean, I think Bitcoin, from my perspective, Bitcoin was, I don't know if I want to say inevitable. It definitely wasn't inevitable, but it felt like Bitcoin is definitely going to happen if anything is going to happen, right? But just because it happened, I don't think it meant that anything else was guaranteed. And I think ETH just opens the door for basically everything else. It feels not like total capitulation, but definitely like a really good step for the industry. And I think it's just like a huge net positive. So I don't know if it's going to be this massive run up like post Bitcoin ETF or what inflows will look like or anything like that. But it's just like clearly a huge win.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump jumping on the crypto bandwagon has scared people in Washington a little bit, and they want to be a bit more neutral on the topic and not lose all the single issue voters. So great for the industry and all of us who are invested in it and participating in it. Thicky, I mean, let's look at the trading side a little bit. Obviously, there was a little bit of a gap up on the actual announcement, but we're falling off a little bit. Do you think this is just profit taking from people that were writing it from 3,200, 3,100, or is this kind of sell the news?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I'm actually like trying to think about it right now because like I have this position one that's going against me. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Liquidate Thicky.
One thing I think that's interesting though is like the same exact playbook that we ran for the Bitcoin ETF is like running back perfectly, right? So like initially people didn't believe it, then they believed it and it was initially priced in. And then if you guys recall, the ETF was approved and if I recall, nothing really happened, right? Like price didn't really move too much. And then I think the ETF actually launched, trading started, and inflows for the first couple of weeks were pretty disappointing. And I think Bitcoin went back down to, was it like 48K, 45K, something in that range. And then we saw this massive set of inflows come in. So I think it's very possible we just run back the same playbook. I think the first few weeks of launch are going to be a little disappointing. I think the Grayscale Ether Trust is going to get unwound a bit. Of course, people are trying to get out of that. And then I think it's going to take some time for the inflows to pick up. And I think we're going to see the same trade run back again. So,
yeah, I guess to play devil's advocate, I mean, ETH has also been going up with Bitcoin. So I don't think you can expect the same price action because, Ether was being dragged up by Bitcoin, even though BTC was going down. And I guess Balchunas and all those ETF analysts, they lean more Bitcoin maxis, and they're definitely biased. But they've been saying, yeah, like ETH ETF is not going to get that many inflows. But it would be interesting to see like how Larry Fink shills the Ether ETF. Maybe he's going to shill like real world assets, like we're going to just mint these things on chain. Maybe the ESG mandates, like Ether is more environmentally friendly. Maybe that becomes a narrative. Like for me, like I'm just like taking my ETH, bridging it to tokenless L2s, hoping for airdrops. So that's kind of like I'm just like forced diamond handing all my ETH right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's true. Bottom line is, one, it'll take longer for the trading to start. They're telling us, maybe a month, which was a lot longer than Bitcoin, which started right after. So that's a good or bad thing, depending how you look at it. It gives the market some time to digest. The Grayscale selling, I think it just depends on if some of the estates need to sell. I think the GBTC was a lot more forced selling. Some of the bankruptcies had to just get out of it. It might not be as bad. And then ultimately, we have to see what the inflows look like. The 10-20% of BTC flows would still make a huge difference on ETH, given the relative size and the relative like liquidity, because of course most of the ETH is staked and restaked and all these things. So just a couple billion of inflows can do wonders, I think.
Yeah, like Jordy, like I think a few months ago you said ETH BTC to 0.08. If the ETF gets approved, is that still your target now? It's at 0.0, what is it, 0.0536? Justin's euphoric here, but
yeah, Justin's euphoric. Someone in the comments says, "Hush, our ETH god is speaking. No comment when Justin speaks."
I prefer Justin is the white GCR, and also Justin is the spectacle GCR.
GCR was a good one. For sure. It's a great comment.
I'm very astute.
Yeah, I think 0.08 is pretty realistic end of year, and I think the 6,000 to 8,000 target that I had is still very realistic. Things take a while now to digest. There's always people that want to take the fast profit. The easy money got made on the, by the news. It was a pretty safe bet when it was like around 3,200 to suddenly just buy and hold. Once things get digested, we'll have to see. Alts have been quite interesting. It seems like meme coins are showing strength, and some of the major L1s and everything else, like Solana, is not doing well. Except I was saying pre-show, Algorand. Algorand is doing well today. It's up a lot, and I don't know. Did you guys see this ad? Maybe we can find the ad, Justin. But I was seeing mixed reactions between.
I saw a lot of hate for the Algorand ad. I haven't actually watched it, but I saw a lot of hate online for it.
Yeah, maybe let's bring up a few seconds. Maybe don't want the whole thing, but maybe the ending. Have you seen this, Taiki?
No, but here, let me link it in the chat. Justin, maybe you can pull it up.
Yeah, so
I think it's this one.
I mean, Algorand has been kind of dead for a while in terms of at least like retail usage and adoption. I don't know about the government side of what they're doing. So they had this ad People like trying to buy groceries, paying, and one guy's trying to. This is the Solana dude. We can maybe like put the volume and watch the Solana dude. This is the
There's
Bitcoin
one.
dude.
It looks like it's going to be another 27 minutes before this transaction clears.
What? Sorry, $112. I have like 3 things.
Ethereum, they got that peak hour gas thing.
There you go.
Maybe one more time. What are you going to do? Just wait right here, without the bag, without the bag.
I think it's gonna work.
No. Should have shot with Algorand.
Oh, it's Scaramucci? Oh my god.
Yeah.
He must be bag holding. Jeez.
Yeah, he is back holding. I mean, that's kind of public. He invested last cycle. So I think this ad rubbed people the wrong way because, first of all, it's throwing shade at the actual 90% of the 95% of the crypto market cap, which is, the big 3, let's say. And secondly, Algorand's not even like competing with them. Like no one sees it in the same lane or category. So like, why are you? I think XRP at some time had done something similar, trying to talk bad about like Bitcoin's environmental impact and stuff like that. Seems a bit too PvP from a game theory standpoint and not worth it. But it's up today, 4% when everything else is down. So maybe it's working. What's your take, Brian?
So the market's always been PvP. I mean, go back to like the Mac versus PC commercials back in the 90s or whatever when we were kids. It's like those are the most adversarial and aggressive commercials that you could ever get, where PC was just like this retarded business guy, whatever. It's just like totally unusable.
That's like Coke and Pepsi. That's like Jordan and Magic. But this is Algorand against like.
Yeah, but Apple at the time, like I don't think it was there yet. I think we look back on it and say like, yeah, of course. But I think Microsoft was just like completely dominating them at the time. And so I think it's always been PvP. I think like, I don't know. I think it's actually a little bit funny to like poke. I don't think anybody's going to take it to like, nobody walks away and is like, you know what, like Ethereum sucks. Algorand is the future. But like, I think it's kind of
Brian, I have a promise to make to you and an offer. If you guys are ever looking to do a commercial, I will fly there at any time, no notice required, and I'll say anything. I just want to be part of it.
So sold. Absolutely.
Wait, so Primo, are you saying that Algorand is the next Apple?
You know what? Maybe. Not a bag holder. No incentives.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how things play out. My understanding was that Algorand had kind of exited the retail app side and was moving into more, I don't know, CBDC or like whatever other kind of stuff. And it was more okay when Solana was poking fun at Ethereum. There was that ad where the guys like they're throwing like layers on him, like layer 2, layer 56, and they're just like throwing. That was pretty funny because at least they're going after the same category of users. In any case, yeah, I mean, markets PvP. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been doing, which is trying to avoid some of the PvP. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, Primo was kind of like a legendary online tournament poker player. I remember on the old Pocket Fives rankings and everything. Like, were you like number 1 or like what was like the
for heads up? I played mostly just heads up, right? So I played heads up cash like up to 501k, mostly shallow, and then heads up sit and goes up to the highest stakes we play. For heads up sit and goes, I was number 1 for a little bit, but it was just like probably 3 to 4 people were really sort of in the mix there.
And you were quite early, I remember, to computerized solving of poker.
Yeah, we built like we published this. There's a paper, a premise we published with Facebook AI Research, but basically like Carnegie Mellon, which was Noam Brown's research, was like high computation solving of poker, right on the back of like chess and some of this other stuff. And then U Alberta was basically all reinforcement learning of just like self-training, simulating, creating your own samples and doing this. And basically after the Deep Stack paper came out, we were just like, we think we can do this better. My 2 co-founders and I spent about a year doing it. And we were like 5,000x more performant than the state-of-the-art benchmark in both of them. So published that paper. And I think in heads up, there hasn't been a paper yet that's eclipsed it, but most people moved on to solving 6 Mac after that. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that was phenomenal. When you were playing Heads Up, Sit and Goes, and Taiki's a fellow ex-poker pro as well, were you using the charts and like this stuff, or were you just playing based on like intuition? Like, what were you using?
Yeah. So, I mean, even back into like, even back in the early days, right? So I started when I was 15 and a half, which is like 2002, 2003 era, and was really full-time, like heavily full-time, probably 2005, 2006. Like from that period onward, for the next 7 or 8 years, I basically was either playing or studying 70 hours a week. So early on, studying was just like you'd run your hands through a hand, like you'd mark hands in your poker tracker or whatever, hold a manager, and then you would pull them out, and then you would like run math and do manual calcs on all of this. And then it came to where you could run like basic sims. And then now you look at anybody like even Jungle Man or like any of the best players in the world spend like a huge portion of their time studying sims. When we did, when Doug Polk played Daniel Negreanu in this like multi-million-dollar Heads Up challenge, we ran all the sims for him with our stuff. And so we would come back after playing for a day and he would be like, okay, like, here are the bet sizes that he did. And we'd run a bunch of different reactions. And then he would go through and basically you have to try to internalize kind of how you randomize in each spot, what ranges look like, how you split, what bet sizes are effective versus not effective. And so like everybody really uses that stuff to study a ton. So it's a lot like on and off the table stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like back shallow. You would have like a chart. You'd have the Nash equilibrium chart, and you just be like, "Oh, it's like 7 big blinds. Like I should just, if I'm playing only push or fold, I'm going to shove this." Now it's really like really complex trees, and so it's a lot of off the table work.
Yeah, and I was talking to one of the big crypto investors today, and he was telling me how in 2017, 18 era, the quality of the funds and the founders was kind of meh compared to other sectors of tech and stuff. And I would say that's changed quite a lot now. I don't know how you feel about it, but it feels like the prime talent is either a trader, and like all the traders are crypto traders because that's like the biggest edge. The founders are there, like obviously like the more kind of institutional investors are coming in. You're competing in a category that, in my opinion, has by far the highest quality of like talented technical, like Georgios from Axelar and like the Wormhole team, from Jump, all these like super technical people. Is that fair to say, or are there other categories that you think are comparable to you guys?
No, I mean, I think there's like, you look at Ilya from Near, like basically wrote part of the Transformer paper. Like, like there are some really, really smart people in the space who have transitioned in. I think there's still a mix of like,
Justin's one of the strongest founders.
Yeah, exactly. Justin, like, come on. I think there's still a mix. There's a lot of grift still. I think there's a lot of mix of, we've always had it from the earliest days of just like overly academic group, like people who come in and just, I don't know, there's a reason academics just like aren't that good in any industry, is just the way that they like think about a problem versus actually executing the problem. So it's not like there's an overwhelming number of founders who I'm just like, everyone is amazing, but there are definitely just some really extremely high quality people in the space now, for sure.
Yeah. And then you guys have always kind of, taken the approach that you need this cross-chain communication, cross-chain, asset moving, omni-chain tokens. And does something like an Ethereum ETF, do you think it kind of changes anything? Like, does that mean that, it's going to become more L2s to L2s? Or do you think we'll still need all these alt L1s?
Yeah, so we've always, like originally we weren't even trying to build the thing. We were building some toy thing and like stumbled into building this problem. And ultimately our thesis became like, internet is just a bunch of execution environments that need to talk to, like, now you have a bunch of distributed execution environments that need to communicate. We went back and said like, okay, like the main thesis of all of this is like, disintermediate a bunch of people who just aren't needed in a system, and like, where is value created? And the fact of the matter is, like, if the internet was a company today, it would be like the most valuable company on the planet. Even if you just take telcos, which is just like rate out the amount of usage that people can get. It's like $3.5 trillion in just the US, Europe, and China alone, just major telcos from those. So it was just very clear this is like if you're betting on the hyper proliferation of chains, and very, very clear that this was like a big problem to solve, which is why I think it's attracted so many people. So like, great, large problem to solve. From there is just like, how do you make the most technologically agnostic version of that? How do you make the thing that's most akin to TCP/IP? We thought L2s would actually be pretty bad for us because you have a layer 2 native bridge, and like everyone, why would they not use the native bridge? And what we found out is it's just like not the case at all. Like 50% of our volume right now is L2 to L2. Massive for all interop, like very massive layer. More L2s is extremely good because nobody wants to go like Arbitrum to Optimism and wait 7 days and pay 2 ETH L1 fees. Like everyone will just price be able to do that quickly. Alt L1s I treat as like, honestly, just like very strong orthogonal trade-offs. Like you started with ETH and you had a bunch of things that were like ETH, but with less validators, ETH, but with this change, right? And like all of that stuff just gets washed away as ETH scales, right? But now you have things that are like very, very strong orthogonal trade-offs. You have Solana, which is like, we're going to do none of the stuff that ETH does. And all we care about is payments and extremely cheap and extremely fast. And like when I was a kid building an application, I'd build a website and I'd host it on my computer, and like if my power went out at my house, like the website is dead. Nobody can look at it, right? You build a web app today and you use 1 million microservices where each one is like hyper optimized for storage, for whatever it is. And I think blockchains are just going to be like that. If you need applications that are more complex, you're going to need to use things that are optimized for storage, optimized for compute and throughput, optimized for, whatever that may be. And you just need that. ETH won't be able to do all of that alone.
Yeah.
But
Like,
maybe
I guess, like, next question I have is like, what do you think about, so, Justin Drake did this podcast with Bankless around, I guess, fragmented liquidity with L2s. You mentioned, ETH is going to scale, but like, how do you think about the L2 landscape? Because it seems like every single week or every other week, there's like a new L2 launching. And I kind of feel like L2s are like farm tokens now, you use the bridge ETH, you farm it, and then you just dump the token, buy more ETH. It's kind of tiresome. Do you think the space is going to be, I guess, are there going to be a few L2s that's going to be dominant, or do you think it's going to be 50 L2s, all with
I think like with anything, it's going to be super power law distributed. I think there'll be a couple that are aggregate hubs. You can make the rest of the stuff seem. The real question is like, what is an L2 and why do we have them, right? And like, it really is to push off a lot of compute. And then you have this other question. We could do a whole 2-hour podcast on like what people think an L2 is and like what an L2 actually is, which I think is like even still today, very misunderstood. Like so many people still think the current state of L2s just like fully inherit the security of Ethereum and all of this. And so there's a bunch of stuff there that I think is still just like widely misunderstood, although improving. I don't know. I think there'll be small hubs that drive the most, and then you'll have like either hyper specialization. So again, this is like take the mega ETH route or take something like that route that is going like very down one path of specialization, or your like dedicated block space, which was always your L3 right now thesis, which is just like, hey, we need like consistency in how gas is going to be metered out and what it's going to cost. And I don't want some hot airdrop to break the chain or cause my transactions to go up 100x.
Bryan, I'm curious, like, where do you think LayerZero will be 10 years from now? Like, very curious what the long-term vision is here.
The long-term vision is that literally nobody, I don't need to talk on Twitter. Nobody thinks about it ever in the way that like somebody building a website today doesn't think about like the OSI model or like TCP/IP. It's just a thing that is useful that probably gets abstracted away through programming languages and tooling above it. And you just like, you just don't care. You're doing this random async call and it's using this thing. But nobody really thinks about it a ton. So like the end state is clearly that. Yeah. I mean,
do you think that's antithetical in any way to our space? Because it seems to me that it's impossible for like crypto infrastructure to sort of like decouple itself from the social aspect on Twitter. Like it's hard to imagine a world where the LayerZero community members, whether they got the airdrop, they've purchased the token, whatever it may be, they got a grant, are not so mission aligned that they have this, they're not just using the infrastructure, they have this passion for it, right? And this they're stakeholders.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see, I guess. It's very interesting right now. The space has remained tightly coupled, right? Like people care about Uniswap, but they also care about Ethereum. People care about apps on Solana, but like they also care about Solana. Again, go to the current internet, and it's like the infra layer doesn't make any money. The telco layer makes a ton and the application layer makes a ton. And now we're saying we're going to disintermediate a bunch of gatekeepers like telcos and like other things. And where does it end up? Do people really like socially only care about the application? Because most people like you don't, even though MongoDB is a multi-billion-dollar company or a multi-billion-dollar product, and Red Hat and all of these things are like massive corporations like Swift. How many normal people, when they're sending a wire using their bank, like care about Swift, which is like a $50 billion company, right? Like all of these things are massive and infrastructure matters, but like your average, even though you can buy the stock or do something, people just, you don't ever think about them. You don't ever care. And so I think socially, most of the layer eventually will bubble up to the application layer and like be owned there. But it's definitely more tightly coupled here than it is in any other industry that I can think of. And a lot of that is because I think we were just so early, and all of us are also like sort of have been reaping the rewards of that for many years. There's a lot of excitement. Like, is Bitcoin worth 3,000 or like 250,000? Like, who knows? We think one thing and the rest of the world thinks another. And so like there's that component to it, which over time at a certain scale will dissipate some. Like vol will just, I don't know, Jordy knows better than I, but my assumption is vol will compress.
It will compress. But I mean, Bryan, I've done like Twitter spaces with you in the past, and you're messaging at the same time, multitasking. You're a massive multitasker, which is great for a founder, because founders, I mean, I'm not as good as you, but like I have to like put that hat on multiple times and just like do multiple things. Do you watch markets at all? Like, do you try to track, what's happening out there? I know it probably just happens through osmosis, I guess.
Yeah, so way less than I used to. Like 3 years ago when we were starting, I was, I played with every single product within the space. I just used everything. I was, trading all of the time. I was following prices all of the time. Now it's just like I see things on Twitter. Occasionally I'll check price updates on my phone. I've really, I don't know, man. You just get warned. There's like too much to do and you just have to start discarding stuff. So definitely much more than I do on broader markets, which I think has been good in a lot of ways, but definitely more disconnected from like, I don't know, a price move of 20% before. And I'm like, I'm liquidated. And now it's just, I don't even really notice it other than like it happened.
How about like the major metas, like, like meme coins are the new thing now, like
for sure. Oh, like I don't think I'll ever not be super addicted to Twitter. So like I see everything that happens in Twitter all of the time. I just am not following more than like knowing that the thing happened and generally it's there.
I wanted to ask you, Bryan, about, so you guys, obviously it's no secret, worked very closely with FTX. They were large investors. I recall when you put out that letter, you shared the letter publicly about next steps. But I'm curious what that was like. Did it feel like you were in the depths of despair? Were you disillusioned with crypto at all? Did you get burnt out? Like, what was that like recovering from FTX and then growing on to build such a massive business? I think in the pre-show you were saying, like, was it 85 employees now?
95, yeah.
95, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so it was interesting because we didn't even want to have FTX on the cap table. We were raising this round. So this round was insane and a lot of decisions got made very quickly. We got preempted at 300 million. We turned it down. We'd only raised this round at 50 and we're like, we're just going to launch. Like, we're just going to launch. We're not raising any more money. We're just going through and launching. Got preempted at 300 million. We're like, listen, thank you guys so much, but we're not going to raise another round. If we were ever to do another round, it would be our last ever. And like, we're going to go back to work. And if maybe we'll come back to you later if we think we justify, but like, we're not going to do it. So got 8 preempts in 8 days, started 300 million, went to $1 billion. One of the big investors was like, you have to talk to FTX. These are the most insane guys. I didn't even really know that much. I used it a little bit, but I didn't know anything about like Sam being the smartest man in the world, or so everyone was telling me all this stuff at the time. So like, you have to talk to them before you close the round. We fly there. and land. And we get off the plane. Tiger is waiting with us, and they're like, here's an offer for like $1.5 billion. And then we go in and we end up turning down that offer and ended up settling this round with like the 3 leads. But we ended up spending 3 days with FTX there. They were going to some like Pig Island or something. They were going out on a boat on Saturday. And we were like, no, like we're just going to work. And so Ryan and I, my co-founder and I, were just like in their office working. And the only other 2 people in the office working were Sam and Romnick at the time. And we're like, all right, like these guys actually like work pretty hard. This is interesting. Learned a little bit more. And then brought them on as investors. And they were like, so they were one of the 3 leads of like A16Z, Sequoia, FTX. It was like, listen, like we were totally remote at that point. They're like, you guys should come here and you should work. And so we all flew in. 20 grew to 22 people there, and we just lived in Bahamas for 5 months. We were just like trapped in our own little hut, and we just like worked every single day when we were there. And at the end of 5 months, we're like, we have to get out of here. And it was more because of the food than anything. The food in Bahamas is so unbelievably god awful. It's just like take like
It is bad.
American food and then like fry it one more time, and like that was just your food every single day. And so we're just like dying. We have to get out. And so we left in May, which was like way before everything blew up.
Did you manage to like go to Pig Island while you were still there? Maybe
no, we never went. I did like 0 touristy things in Bahamas.
You missed out. Like I went to Pig Island.
I saw the pictures. I've heard it's great. Yeah, there you go.
Scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Let's see some of the pigs on the beach. They just like live there. They hang out. You go, you pet them. You missed out, man. Maybe you're gonna build a $10 billion protocol, but you could have hung out with the pigs as well.
I've heard it's awesome. But no, so I mean, we left in May, and then in whenever it was, November, when everything was blowing up, basically the moment that we thought there was like the moment that things got crazy, we were just like, we have to like get them, like we have tier 1 investors, like our cap table is really good. We just like have to get them off the cap table. And so I think we were like one of the only companies to do so. And it was just like immediately the very first sign of shakiness, I asked them if we could just like buy them out and be done with it. And we ended up getting them off the cap table. So there wasn't really like the industry blowing up. I don't know. We didn't lose any people. Nobody quit the company. Like 3.5 years in, we've had 3 or 4 people leave the company ever. And so like everybody was still kind of in it, and we were just like building the thing that we're building. We had 10 years of runway. Everything was like good enough that it wasn't, I was really depressed in 2018. That was hard for me. This was not that hard for me.
Yeah. Speaking of,
the TradFi guys that you had were kind of like crypto tourists. So like, I remember Sequoia said they're not investing anymore. There were some of the funds were just like, all right, this has gotten too much. But I guess like it doesn't affect progress too much.
Yeah, I mean, we were super transparent with everybody when we were raising, and just like we know exactly what we're building and how we're going to build it. We don't want help on the crypto side of stuff at all, really. Like what we don't know how to do is like build a world-class organization. We just don't know how to build a large company, actually do it like efficiently. So like that was the thing that we wanted from them. And that's still the thing most of the time, like when I have questions that I go and ask. No VC is ever going to know how you should build your product or know your product better than you. It's just insanity to ever think that they will. They're very good at some things, but they're just not going to run your company for you. They're not going to build your product for you. And if you take advice from them, you're very likely going to get wrecked long term.
Yeah. Speaking of VCs, we were talking about this pre-show, but there's a lot of, I guess, anger towards, I guess, the quote unquote VC coins and like the low float high FDV meta. How do you think about these types of narratives, and of course, as you approach TGE,
for sure.
What are your opinions on that?
I think about it a ton. There's a bunch of stuff that nobody knows. I'll publish something probably like in the next week or two. So a bunch of stuff that nobody knows. We were like very, very thoughtful, even from an early time. And so we've had years of big VC coin and all of this stuff, but I think we put a lot of time, even from the earliest moment, of like how we thought about engaging with the community and everyone who'd been involved super early on. I think the low float high FTV meta is like very interesting. It's very clear that like really low float just sucks. It's just like bad for everybody. It's very clear dynamics. It's just clearly very bad. But the interesting thing is that a bunch of people
biases. I mean, Brian, you and I probably know cognitive biases quite well. Like, there's two ways to look at it. Like, one is, okay, this is a cognitive bias where it's an anchoring. Like, they anchor you with like the really low flow, which is like the market cap, on the price of the token. And people just like assume, token price, this is the token price. And then, it slowly starts to go down because people are like selling onto it. And you're kind of anchored at like, oh, Starkware should be $2 or.
Yeah, it's like, if you launch at $50 billion, like, are you really going to be like $500 million? Somebody's like, it's, 10 billion seems like a steal now. Like, this is going to be a great buy. So I think it biases people a ton towards that. But just the solutions have been very interesting. Like back in ICO era, everybody was just like, the team and investors need to be locked up forever or like as long as possible because everybody then was like, raise a bunch of money, buy a boat and like quit and stop working. It's just like, thanks for the ICO. We're out. We're not ever going to launch a product. So a lot of people are like, they need to be locked up forever or for a super long time to lock. And now people are like, actually really long lockups and unlocks are like extremely bad, like unlock them. And that also seems like pretty bad to me. I think there are both sides. There's something that we considered that is this idea that Kobe had, that he was pretty public about, which is basically like waive the investor lockup if they will sacrifice 50% of their tokens. So 50% of their tokens goes back directly to community, and basically gets distributed broadly, and they get unlocked immediately. It solves some of this float issue. Now, there's a bunch of we looked into trying to do this because we think there's a bunch of reasons it could be good. Regulatorily, you can't do it, so that's not something we're
It's so funny because like the regulation
into like a lot of things, a lot of ways to try to solve for this.
Yeah, the regulation is supposed to protect users, protect retail. Like all this is about user protection, but actually it does the opposite. You can't give out cash flows. You can't like do these unlocks before 12 months. It has the exact opposite effect. And Gary, our protector, maybe has not been protecting very well.
Yep.
Well, today's not the day to criticize him, right? He pushed the ETH ETF through. Let's just let him have today.
New Gary, we're back.
Yeah.
We love Gary.
Let's take a quick break from the heavy stuff and go to our sponsors. I'm just kidding. No sponsors. I just want to actually we have to pay to do this. We're not getting paid. Justin and I are always coordinating our payments to make sure this show goes out to everybody for free. Let's go to CoinGecko because somebody put in the chat that I think he got liquidated. That's why he left. I want to see what's happening. Hopefully he's not liquidated. Okay, it's actually not bad. I mean, ETH is kind of stabilizing. Bitcoin, surprisingly, is bouncing back a little bit on the 24 hours. It looks like it's actually up.
Tether's still holding strong.
There you go.
And Doge. I mean, R.I.P. Kabosu. R.I.P. for Kabosu. He passed away this morning.
That explains the slight overperformance there.
Yeah, like do you guys remember last in 2023, like people were writing investment memos for Doge because like Kabosu might die soon. Like it was so PvP that people were like tracking Kabosu's health.
It's like an artist, man, right? They're the best value of their work comes after they're dead. They can't create anything new. So
did you guys see this tweet? Like somebody found on chain, like someone has been accumulating Kabosu meme coin for like months and months in anticipation of this event. And then this all for like 300K or something. Like he made like 500K or something. So he's just been slowly waiting. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen with the Bowden thing. People can just there's going to be some exit opportunity for Bowden around the debates or something. And it's obviously like a silly game, and it's very negative sum probably.
We have somebody in the office who at a certain point had like, I don't know, like 4 to 5 times their salary in Bodin coin, and tried very hard to get them to invest some, and they're just they're not selling till November. So you've still got lots of Bodin maxis out in the wild.
Wow.
Yeah. Bryan, I just wanted to take a second. Like, you've been in this space for a while now, several years, since what, 2017 was it, or before 2015?
2000, first touch 2011-ish, right when poker was banned, but really like 2013, I was running racks of miners. I was at ETH ICO.
All right.
All of that.
So we'll call it 11 years. In like a few weeks' time or months, I'm not sure when TGE is, like, you're going to find your token somewhere high up on this list. You know, it's a great project. Presumably it'll be somewhere here. How does that feel? You've been watching this space for 10 years, and pretty soon you're going to have one of the dominant projects. Are you excited, nervous, all of the above?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think we've like very much just focused on like build the thing, and I think we're trying like the thing. Like, a lot of people launch a token and like become a token company, kind of, and like we really want to like we're very like, we just think about things on a very long-term time horizon. We have all the time in the world in terms of funding and runway to like build something that's going to be genuinely useful on like a really long time horizon. So like we try internally like not to think about it too much. I try not to anchor to what anything will be, and just like at the end of the day, you know, in a 3-month period, and a 12-month period, maybe it will matter a lot. On like a 5-year period, it won't matter. We have to win. And like, if we have to win, we have to like build the hard stuff and get everybody to build on top of us. And like, we just built all this native restaking that EtherFi and Athena and all of these other groups are like using. Like, we're building stuff that's being deployed at scale for like many, many billions to tens of billions of dollars in production. And I like, that's just a much more challenging and interesting problem to me. So is it like nerve-wracking, and is there like this emotion? Yeah, like, yeah, it is for sure. But I would say it's almost more of a stressor than anything else. It's like when you start a company early on, it was just me, Ryan, and Caleb, and we're just like building this thing because we just love building stuff. And now at 95 employees, you're like, the world is just different. You have the weight of responsibility of every time we took a funding round, there was just this weight of like expectations of other people have bet on you. All these employees who have like bet their lives on you. And I think it's just an additional like weight more than anything else, more than like, I'm bad at celebration. I don't know. I remember when we raised our round at 3 billion, people were asking me like, how's it feel even the billion when you were like first unicorn? Like, how's it feel? And I was like, we didn't even take like 1 second to pat ourselves in the back. We're just like, we need to launch, like we're building, like, I don't know. It's a weight and almost a burden more than it's this great thing. But I very strongly believe in sort of like democratized exposure to everything. And again, having like a like real broad ownership of the rails.
Yeah. Speaking of challenges, you know, I think you did something that's very unique where you're trying to filter out the Sybils, right? And you're creating dialogue, which I think is good, because usually teams just, drop their token, like 7% allocation or whatever, and then the community gets pissed. But this time around, you're saying, okay, like this is how we're thinking about it, and let me know if you have feedback. So you have like Sybil detection, there's self-reporting. Can you just talk about the entire process? Like, how many wallets have self-reported? Like, what did you learn about clustering in wallets? That entire experience.
For sure. So, I mean, people always equate back to like, just do it like Uniswap did it or like Arbitrum did. And there's just like, wasn't that much farming that really. Uniswap, I used Uniswap. I got the Uniswap airdrop, but it was just like one day I was just like, oh, I got this thing. I wasn't like, maybe airdrop's going to give me, maybe Uniswap's going to give me a token. So I'm going to like spam transactions across like 100,000 wallets. It just like wasn't a thing back then. And so people got like a meaningful amount. And there was like this connection with Uniswap. People were happy. They loved it. Tons of people held their Uni token, all of this stuff. It's a different world today. And I don't think people like really acknowledge that. We had 6 million wallets on LayerZero, and like just a massive, like huge Sybil clusters. And so we like, yes, it would have been so easy for us to just like launch low flow, high FTV, just vanilla, give out the coin. Everyone's happy. Nobody complains, but we just like don't think it's the right thing to actually do. I think it matters to like reward the right people. There's a bunch of devs and a bunch of people who like really bet on us early. And there's protocols who had a bunch of choices early and made the decision to like build on top of LayerZero and drive like all of the stuff that like made us successful. And I would way rather disproportionately reward those people and get rid of Sybil. So then the question is like, how do you actually get rid of it? Because there's a lot of like very sophisticated actors. You're never going to be able to get rid of
very sophisticated Sybils. I mean, like there's people doing all kinds of clever ways to loop
100%.
it. And let's put the most sophisticated Sybil you've had of all. Can you bring up this this tweet, Taiki? I'll remind you of the painful. Okay, this is not this is not the tweet.
Okay, these are sophisticated Sybil's though.
These are sophisticated Sybils. There's an even more sophisticated one.
Here we go.
First off, we did indeed buy all the tokens. Sybil number 1, Mr. Sam.
That was such a painful day, man. That was such a painful day. It was the absolute worst. Yeah. We were all there in the office. Everybody was like waiting for the launch of Stargate. And when we like planned to launch it, zero expectations. Like we didn't even know if like the auction would sell out. We like definitely not one block. And so we start and it was like, boom, first block, 25 million like sold out. And we're like, that's insane. Like this is amazing. We're all celebrating. And then like 2 blocks later, we're like, one person bought it. Like what happened? And then finding out that it was them and then needing to get them to like, they agreed at the time to like lock it up for this really long period. Obviously none of that matters now because of the, because of the estate, but like, it just turned into like this really miserable thing. And so many people were angry and it went from like this great moment to this miserable moment. But yeah, it was the worst.
Yeah. And I think like it shows the importance of game theory in some of these designs from now on. I mean, we've had this happen with Jupiter, the launchpad on Solana, where they think they're all smart and they're like, oh, we got this very interesting 1 block gone. Like,
yep,
you've created like a plus EV thing for somebody to just buy and then sell it higher.
Of course.
So of course, like you're trying to use your experience with game theory with the launch now, and it's so funny how some of the teams I talk to, including things like EigenLayer, EtherFi, you guys, you spend a ton of hours on the actual product, but then it's like it feels like there's equal amount of time spent on like getting the distribution of the airdrop, which is supposed to like it's not the product, it's just like it's just giving out the candy basically. But somehow it becomes like spreadsheets and I mean, obviously it's important to get the sentiment right and get the distribution to the community. So and avoid this like Sam Trabucco stuff. Do you feel like you're close now? Like, what's your feeling right now?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, one of the problems is a lot of this Sybil and a lot of this like broader like. It's gone from industrial farmers to people making guides to everybody farming to just like so now a lot of Twitter sentiment. There's like thousands and thousands of accounts who have like vested interest in this. Or if you actually do something that disrupts this, your sentiment is going to be bad. And I think we've just accepted that. And it's actually turned into being pretty good because people see that there's a lot of abuse happening. For us, it was basically just like, okay, how do we solve this? One, totally new. There's no chance we're going to be able to like detect all Sybil from day one. You're just not going to be able to. And so when we put up the self-report, you have a bunch of people who share software. So people make software and sell it to everyone. Everyone runs this. And so any of those sort of groupings or clusters who self-report, we then use as a data set to like detect other Sybil. And I think that's really powerful. So it's just like, listen, Sybil activity has clearly provided some value to the protocol. You can just take 15% outright. So like whether that's gas plus, whatever, there's probably about the fair amount relative to a real user, like 1/7 of a real user. And then we're going to use that data set to like catch other Sybils. And if people don't report, then they get nothing. And then after that is sort of this bounty process of going through and, basically taking in all of these reports. Some people like the amount of effort people put in this. I published one last night. There's just like amazing, like really, it was just so you can never read that and not be like, this is just like completely conclusive. And then it comes down to just like final criteria and get it right. And we started at 6 million.
Like the reports. I mean, people incentivized just to like try to report everybody. Like,
yeah, but it has to. I mean, it has to be like conclusive, and your entire report has to be conclusive, right? And so it's you're like just vanilla reporting everybody doesn't really solve. It doesn't really get you anything.
But do you have like a factory of like people and like India just going
Oh,
through.
so this has happened for sure, right? So already we have that got massively spammed. So there's two things that happen. Bounty reports open, get spammed with about 9,000 submissions from a bunch of random people, and then externally everybody goes through and reports all of the legitimate reports. So they write a scraper to say, if our addresses are in these reports, then we're going to report them. Report them to GitHub and get their GitHub accounts banned so the reports disappear, right? So that part has been like, the execution of that has been a total mess, total mess. I think we have the solution now. We're basically, we'll reopen it probably today or tomorrow for final submissions, probably 24 hours of final submissions. And we've been going through a bunch of the reports, but we'll just require a bond for every single person who's putting up a report, and your bond will basically just be lit on fire if it's not a reasonable report.
Because you're getting Sybil on the Sybil report.
100%. You're getting Sybil, and their accounts are getting like Sybil banned, right? So like reported, and GitHub is like banning the real.
You're doing proof of stake. You're doing like a proof of stake in order to avoid the spam.
Just reinventing all systems to do this. So it's been messy, but I think the end result has been good. Like of our 800,000 initial Sybil that we found, so 6 million total wallets. A bunch of those are like a huge portion of those have only done like one transaction ever. So just wipe away a bunch of them. 800,000 of like legitimate Sybil found in the first one. And if you took every appeal being submitted as being like an honest appeal, we're only at like a 2 to 2.5% false positive rate. And when you think a bunch of those are not valid appeals, you're down to like 0.5 to 1.5%.
You should issue like a ticker like $ Sybil, and then you can make it an AVS. You can retake and get like the security from EigenLayer, and then you can airdrop to people. That's how you really play the game. I think Justin Sun would do it that way.
Man, we've had so many really large projects reach out to us, and like if we could turn it into a product, I think everybody would buy it. I think everybody is dealing with the same issues here.
But it's a little bit different because a lot of them have TVL, and it's like it's not really Sybil, like it's TVL. It's sort of linear. If they want to do non-linear, then it's a problem because you have all these like shitty small accounts.
It's easy if you can do it purely linearly. Like then Sybil doesn't even become that much of an issue. The problem with us is like, how do you weight a transaction that has moved like $10,000 on Stargate versus like somebody who has moved an NFT versus like an application who has just like updated its state for what the new like rate is for missions or something, right? And there's just like there's a lot of messiness there.
Nice.
Yeah, we were talking about this I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. It's like there's no way to please everybody. Like you're gonna, a good portion, there's gonna be a huge vocal, probably majority even, that's upset with the distribution. And I hope you guys are ready for it.
I mean, for us, it's like we'll take all of the heat if there is. It just doesn't matter. The question is, do we actually think two things? Do we think we're doing the right thing, and do we think the end distribution like achieves the goal that you want? And the goal should be like the most aligned, the highest percentage of like real users maximally aligned with the protocol, right? Like that's what you want, the people who actually believe they're actually built aligned with the protocol. And if like you get that part right, just take all of the noise and it's fine, right?
Yeah, I've told Justin, like I disagree. Like, yeah, everyone's gonna hate the referee in the football game. Like everyone's gonna like throw stuff, no matter, you give a penalty to those guys. Everyone thinks the referee is biased against them. But if you're the referee, like Bryan is in this case, you have to still just do your best job to be objective and just let everybody like throw bottles. That's fine. But sometimes you do make people happy. And Justin, I mean, I saw some of the controversy of the referee for the Polymarket on the ETF approval.
Yeah. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I famously, widely reported, very well known, longed the Polymarket that the ETF would be approved at 7 cents. So basically bought in at a 7% chance the ETF was approved. This was widely reported, a very famous call on my end. And of course, the ETF did get approved, but there was a little scandal with the Polymarket. There's 2 documents the SEC has to approve to like make this official. I believe the ETF commentator said it was like 2 keys with a nuclear switch. Both have to be inserted and turned to activate the ETF. We didn't get that yesterday. Only, the 19 Bs were approved, not the other form. And so there was this big dispute whether Polymarket would say this was the approval or if we need both. Fortunately, Polymarket made the right decision. They decided to say that, in spirit, this thing was approved. We'll approve it. We'll mark this as resolved. The ETF was approved. Let's move forward. And so it was a great outcome, and for people that believed in the ETF the whole time.
I have a question for you. If S1s are denied, will you still think it was the right outcome?
No. But I think it's like on a balance of probabilities. On a balance of probabilities, if we think like the S1 is 99% chance going to get approved, because
given they need to decide by the 31st, and S1s might not be approved by the 31st, then we'll have to make a decision. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm biased though, of course. So it's I don't know if I'm the most valuable commentator here, but
by the way, we have I think we have over 600 views live, which is our live record. So let's see if we can get to 1,000. But yeah, please, guys, like and subscribe. It is an exciting week, and I think that's evident. Everyone is paying attention. There's been some fun Twitter stuff going on. I know you're always scanning crypto Twitter because it's very entertaining, Brian. Maybe let's do a pasta and get through some of the Twitter things we've been seeing. This is the old pasta version. We'll show you the new pasta graphic. Can we get the new pasta graphic? There we go.
Beautiful. The budget's going up, guys. Then the market goes up, the budget goes up.
Yes, production quality is gonna be up only coming months.
Steady lads, Sybil Mafia is here.
Yo, the comment section is or the chat is half people are just spamming one token and why.
Welcome to my life, boys.
I bet your DMs are just filled with
impossible task.
Yeah.
So who's gonna go first? Let's Justin, defending champion. Let's see what you got.
I've got a good one though. I don't want to. All right. I've got a video. It's a 30-second clip. This was actually submitted by an audience member saying, Justin, you were right. The ETF was approved. This has got to be your pasta. And so I think you guys are going to love this one.
So I was right. I took a rash of shit for 2 years, but I was right. And everyone was wrong. And yeah, I got a bonus check for it. Sue me. It's a lot of money. I get it. I could feel you judging me. That's palpable. But hey, I never said I was the hero of this story.
That's pretty much how I feel coming into the show right now. Is a perfect encapsulation of what I'm feeling. So I thought that was a good one.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
Okay, cool. Well,
that's it. I need to. Okay, I'm seeing in the chat Justin won already. Thank you, Sam.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't know. Should we just end the show now? Do we need to see the others?
The good thing is when we have a live show, we get to poll the audience. So let's see. Taiki, what do we have?
Actually, Justin, can you pull up the diss track? I want to pull up that one.
Yep, I can do a quick pivot here.
Yeah, so everyone knows CC2 Ventures, the famous airdrop farmer, Sybil on Twitter. Recently, there's been this track dropped. We don't have to listen to the entire thing, but Justin, can you just play audio on, go full screen?
I would delete my account too. A shame. So many ref links. All for what? For zero. LayerZero, yeah, I got a new hero. Gonna cut the bots out, gonna send them to the bureau. I got 180 wallets, you a weirdo. Need to go and touch some grass before you burn your shit near. Look, should've known that your ass wasn't alone. You can blame yourself for it, you was throwing rats a bone. Ay, that's a ref link reference, you adult. You be posting every one like you thirsty as a whole way. Well, sticking practice gonna get your ass on
it. Into it, man.
That was good. Dumping on the bronads.
It's like your background song today. It feels like you've been listening to it on loop.
Yeah, that one's a banger. That was a banger. When I listened to that, I was like, it was so funny. It feels like the meta changes all the time. You know, like one time it's like, I don't know, like low FTV coins or like low float coins good. Now it's like new coin bad, right? New coin piece of shit. Now it's like, yeah, like bridging is bad, airdrop farming is bad.
So what's the story with this guy? Like this guy is obviously like an airdrop influencer, as we call it. Like he posts tweets telling people how to farm and Sybil and kind of get around airdrops. And he was unhappy with some recent what was it? Yeah, and then like he deleted his account.
Yeah.
I didn't follow exactly.
Yeah.
Brian, you know exactly what happened there?
Yeah, loosely, this is somebody who, in the past, like you said, airdrop influencer goes and tells people, here's what I think you should be doing. Said like 15 times that they had inside information on LayerZero is going to do this, This was like wrong every time along the way. But really is like people love them, just like people love sort of heroes in every arc. And so when we announced the Sybil detection stuff, got like very, very upset, deleted their account, came back now. But we were talking about it pre-show. Like why do people love this kind of person? Why does this kind of person like exist or do this? And like, yeah, you a lot of ref links, a lot of like clout for being right along the way, and then you can like guarantee being right, because there's a lot of projects now who like actually pay them as an advisor to show their airdrop and all of this stuff, right? So everything you're doing becomes like you become the savant in self-fulfilling prophecies.
There's a certain type of user that just like wants airdrops. Like they don't want to spend a lot of money. They just want to like try to like get these. Just like there's NFT users who like collectibles. There's an airdrop user, and people are making bots, and then you could use the bots to farm airdrops. And like you said, like some layer 2, some chains were even like welcoming the bots. Like, yeah, come and just do activities and TPS and stuff. I guess you guys didn't want to like try to just get these cheap metrics, but some people are saying that you were benefiting implicitly anyway.
Yep.
I mean, how do you see it?
Super hard for us because, again, not something like there's a bunch of legal restrictions around what you can talk about, etc. We never said ever from the beginning forward that we were doing a token. We never mentioned it. Like it was written in the protocol that there could be a token. And so people had like seen the code, but we never said we're doing a token. We never said we're like any distribution, like never talked about it. It was just like, we're just not going to say anything publicly. And then you go back around the time of our Series B, and there just becomes a massive amount of speculation. They just raised this round at $3 billion. They must be doing their token soon. And everybody starts coming and things just get like really, really insane. This is part of the reason why for the self-report, we said like, we'll offer 15%. Like we get people spend gas and like use the protocol in the hopes of this. And like, you're not a real like durable user long-term, take the 15%. And then that's like a reasonable sort of trade there. But I think people are upset that we didn't come out earlier and be like, no, you shouldn't be doing this or doing that. But like from our end, it was just like, we can't comment on anything. So we just like, don't say anything about any possible distribution or any future token or like anything like that. Right. And so it was like a very hard position to be in, but it was like for us internally, like hated it. Like it was actually miserable. There was just like nothing but when zero and airdrop threads every day for like a year of my life. And we couldn't really say anything. And people were coming and being like, this thing is definitely happening next month. Like, here's the airdrop guide you need to follow.
You can't even deny. Like, you can't confirm or deny. You can't.
Whoa. Jordy, let Brian talk.
Sorry, Danik. So first, like, I can't interrupt Brian. I can't interrupt Justin, who is like the ETF god.
YGCR.
Market god, YGCR. I can't interrupt him. So it's just you, Taiki, I can interrupt.
Okay.
For now.
wait till I become Asian GCR. Then you can never interrupt me.
Oh my god. All right. Like Brian, do you have pasta?
Yeah, I submitted one. I had two. I was torn between. This is one. Just all the Nick Carter memes. I thought were hilarious meme format. They were getting used everywhere. My second was Sailor, and it's a picture of Vitalik and like his unicorn shirt, and it says Sailor's next conference. But this is my submission.
Did you have your money on Nick Carter then?
So just because like we have a 25% audio audience, so the submission is. I think trustless state broke his own rib. And there's a picture of Nick Carter pretty buff. I mean, he's got the Miami Cuban thing going. Like, looks pretty strong here.
And there's just this format. There's the particular caption doesn't matter, but this format is just being used over and over again in true sort of semi pasta.
Yeah, and they were supposed to do a boxing match next week, right? At Consensus.
Yeah, it was supposed to
But,
be.
like,
yeah.
Like Hoffman broke his rib or something.
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yeah, he did. And maybe you can bring up Jose from Delphi, another ex 10 years ago poker guy, but he says that he is willing to step up and defend Ethereum's honor in place of trustless state. This guy's been doing like BJJ for like infinite years. I would not get in the ring with him if I was Nick Carter, although maybe boxing is okay. But let's see. Like this will be fun because I think a lot of
Bryan
people
do you ever see yourself like, is this or any of the interoperability protocols, is there ever going to be a battle? Are you going to ever take it to the arena?
I mean, I wrestled collegially. I wrestled for 10 years. So if we're doing some sort of competition in that realm, sure, I guess I would participate. But I think I don't know. We can't even get them to do proper debates anymore. So it's unlikely we're going to get a fight.
Wasn't Hasib a heads up guy as well? Couldn't we do like we could do a little heads up poker fight night? I'd be down. All right. Well, my pasta is a literal pasta, and it's one of the better pasta. So, pasta of the week, everybody's like, normally, we're just putting memes up and funny stuff, but normally pasta is supposed to be something that is like a chant. Everybody can just.
We don't need the lecture, Jordy.
Okay. Bring up pasta because this one, we got Thicky. I'm in a group with Thicky and a bunch of other people, and it says, this was yesterday while we were waiting for the announcement. It says, in the next hour, our hearts beat as one, unified by hope and fear. This moment, more critical than any before, holds our collective dreams in balance. The approval or rejection of the ETH ETF will decide our fate. We will rise in joyous celebration, our aspirations validated, or descend into a shared sorrow, our hopes momentarily dashed. This hour, the most pivotal of our lives, will define our future. And then just people just copy pasta this everywhere. Epic. I don't know who wrote this. I have no idea, but this is my choice chat. So let's get the poll out, and maybe let's put a Thicky one because some people are saying Thicky won. I don't know. He's no submission, but have a Thicky submission. Did he pre-submit?
He did. He did not pre-submit. No, but the poll is up and running now, I believe, on YouTube. So if you're watching live on YouTube, I will try to pull up the poll as well to see if I can get the live results in.
We'll
wait for those to come in. Let's do.
I think the all-time greatest pasta has to be the federal investigation pasta. I just don't think there's any that has had the longevity and it's just too good.
This is the in case of any investigation, I am here against my own will, or what does it say? Like,
I do not know why I'm here.
It's been so many years, and I still just see it regularly used. It's just never left.
Wow, the results are. I'm getting a little surprised by the results. Honestly, I'm wondering if people think if they vote for the right person, they'll get a special airdrop. I don't know what's happening here.
The poll's getting Sybil like.
So yeah, it looks like we have some initial votes coming in, 115 votes. So make sure to get your votes in. But right now, Bryan's a strong lead at 35%. I'm coming in second at 27, Tyke at 24, and Jordy. I thought you might have had a chance at winning, but last place at 15.
People not feeling the written pasta. They want the okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's give a couple more minutes. Maybe let's end with a little bit of a Q&A from the chat since we have Primo with us. Please no LayerZero token stuff that cannot be answered because we're gonna ignore those. But if anybody wants to put some chats, some questions.
Let's see.
Yeah. In case of any investigation,
they're asking Tyke how many LayerZero wallets. I mean, is there such a thing as LayerZero wallet? I mean, I have like normal wallets that have just been doing transactions. I'm
I
assuming
have
that-
6.
No, we don't. Not a blockchain. Don't have our own wallet. There's no real LayerZero wallet.
Okay, we're starting to get some questions. Meanwhile, I have a question. Like, what do you think of Ton? Are you like? It's obviously like the one that stands out to me as a differentiated blockchain right now. They have the distribution. It's a different design, different type of user base. Like, what's your feeling on Ton? Are you guys looking at Ton?
Yeah, for sure. For actual, I mean, we spent a lot of time going through the actual architecture of chains. Ton's architecture is just like very, very, very interesting. I don't think people give it nearly enough credit for what it is. It's obviously now it's becoming like more and more popular, and I think they just have massive distribution, which matters. But yeah, I think even the technology itself, the team is great, the tech is great. It's very interesting ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's great. You got these like mobile users that you can try to target with specific applications geared for that. Hopefully, it's not all just going to be like little casino games and stuff like that. Maybe there's something more, more social-fi, something else. We'll see. Any decent questions here?
Yeah,
most are airdrop related. I see one here. Next area of growth for the protocol. Very broad question from David Nurse.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that we think about the world is largely just we want to create the lowest level primitive with the highest possible utility, right? Like that's the thing that we're trying to make. And so first we create this sort of like send function. Over the last 18 months, I think we were 97% of all interledger transfers. So just like extremely dominant. Take away, remove all of the Sybil. Now we're at 64,000 today. I think at 64,000, I think wormholes somewhere around like 5,500. XLR is like 4,000 a day. CCIP is like single digit hundreds, I think. And so you're talking still, call it 80, 85% of like overall market share of what's being done. So that market we think has been not fully saturated because new applications and use cases are going to sort of arrive naturally. But it's like we have a very hard time to force the market to like send more messages across chain, right? It's just like not something we can catalyze. We can help people build cool things. We can help big protocols move over onto it. And so a lot of the time we spend thinking about like, how do you actually use the same primitive set, all the stack that we built and sort of extend what the protocol can do? And we have just like a lot of really cool primitives in my mind, like really, really, really cool. That will be rolling out kind of over the next 6 months or so. We've been working on a ton of stuff, but it's always through that lens of like the lowest level possible primitive with maximum utility or like maximum expressiveness. So almost everything we build is like through that lens versus like what is the next new application we can build or how do we do this consumer thing? It's almost always at the primitive level.
Yeah. There's another user asking about your AI bags. I mean, you have an AI background and you're in crypto. Like, what do you make of the AI crypto space? Is it, just agents, or does anything else make sense? Like, how are you seeing that space?
Yeah, I have no AI crypto bags, but I have like actual AI bags. So I've written a couple of seed checks in AI companies that have just like crushed and are crushing. And I just like actually very strongly believe in, particularly one of them is just amazing. Amazing kid, amazing. They've just—
Don't FOMO us. What's like accessible to people? Like, is there any crypto AI thing that makes sense, or is it just pure AI? Like, pure AI is the real
I've been a huge, despite being in crypto for a very long time and AI for 10 years now as well, right? So I've spent like more than a decade in both. I've been a huge crypto and AI bear for a long time. And that because everyone was saying, like, everyone was like, all of the data is going to live on chain. It's like data, like storage is like the single thing the blockchain is the word. We're not putting petabytes of data on the block. Like, it's not happening. And then it was like, oh, the models will live on chain and this thing. The area that I actually think is interesting and can have real legs is just a world of autonomous agents. The more that you have an agent integrated into your life that needs to do something, it will need to negotiate or pay or settle on your behalf. And there's just no way you're getting all of these agents onto like traditional banking rails easily. Like crypto is, as a payment mechanism and as a rails mechanism for settlement between agents, is like the perfect use case. I think between there and then cryptographically proving like how content was generated is another thing that like could be interesting in the world of deep fakes and like AI impersonation. But I think more than anything, multi-agent domain of me wanting to do something it needing to go and interact with hyper specialized agents and settle and pay there. And so I think
How about like renting out other people's agents? Like somebody does a really good agent, you know, you want to rent out their AI girlfriend or something. Like how about something?
Yeah, I think effectively the same thing of likely you will, you know, you'll have something who you want something and your agent will go out and get that thing or settle that thing on your behalf, whether you want to book a vacation or whether you want to do X or Y or Z. I think it ultimately becomes, and those agents that are hyper specialized and good need to be able to exchange value with other agents. It's not going to be you doing it most of the time.
Yeah. Somebody said, who is the thinker you respect the most?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. I grew up kind of with like a chip on my shoulder and just like have no heroes. Everybody sucks. And you can kind of just, if I put enough time and effort into something, I can get good at it. So I really have broadly, I've met a lot of people that I think are amazing. And generally it was always just like, I don't want to say super disillusioned, but I'm just like, they're not as amazing as I thought they were. They're just somebody who was like very narrowly focused at this thing and spent a bunch of time and got good. And like, that's amazing. People I enjoy conversations with. I spent a bunch of time kind of recently with Noam Brown from OpenAI, with Demis from DeepMind, with Eric from Magic, with all these like people in AI who I really respect a lot. I think on the crypto side, it's like everybody who just builds super principally, right? I think we try to model ourselves and how we, like what we actually build, ignore what we say, what anyone says, like what actually gets built after the Vitaliks of the world, after the Haydens. It's just like anybody who has actually put what they say, because a lot of people will say they have these principles and they have this alignments, and then they're like upgradable contracts and censorship and like all of this other stuff in there. And you're like, that's completely different than what you're telling the world. But I think the people who actually, it's hard to ship something that you can just like never change, especially something that's going to have billions or tens of billions of dollars in it, like in Uniswap's case, right? Like it would have been so easy for them to just be like, if there's a bug, we'll just be able to patch it. Like we'll have this little surface of upgradability. It's hard to ship perfect code. It's hard to do that. And I think anybody who really, really adheres to those principles above all else, I'll say is somebody who I like respect deeply versus like, I guess, thinkers that I love. If it's the best thinkers, I honestly think my co-founder Ryan, our chief architect Isaac, are the single two most brilliant engineers in a world of a lot of really smart people I've spent time with that I've ever met, and I love them both. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions, Taiki or Justin, that you guys liked a lot, or should we move to the poll results, which I've seen? I'm not very happy about being last.
I think we can move to the poll results. I think, Brian, maybe, I don't know if you had an army come out and vote in support of you in exchange for some tokens, but Brian dominated at 40.
You got CC too voting for him.
Yeah. So congratulations,
yeah.
Brian,
dance, give us a dance.
Good job. I mean, Brian, it's been a great episode. I think you were a steady lad indeed. You kind of fell in perfectly into the show. So please, everybody, like and subscribe. We hope you enjoyed it. We will hopefully see you with Thicky next week, and you know, the ETF flows hopefully begin soon. So see everybody soon. Take care.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.